welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. As long as you can still hear and my mic didn't clip and make any weird things, we'll be talking football, and you guys will be listening. Today we're just doing some rankings. I have finalized my top 100, and we'll talk about it in a second. So I don't have any more to say. This is the intro. We're doing well. Everyone, welcome in. Take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Feeling fired up this morning. I have no idea why. I have absolutely no clue why I feel so fired up this morning. And it's going to be kind of a boring show, to be honest. I don't know. I've never done a rankings episode really before. Like, we always do tier lists and stuff like that. I feel like that's kind of easier to talk through. I don't really know. I have my spreadsheet. We'll talk about it. You guys ask questions. I think that'll kind of help move this thing along. If you see something that's odd to you, go ahead and ask some questions and stuff like that. Either way, it's going to be fun. I don't know why I'm saying it's not going to be that great. We're still going to have a good time. And I already know you guys are going to hate my rankings. I already know we're going to get a ton of hateful comments after this show and all that stuff. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be a good one. Good morning to you, Donald, Mark, Bach, Alex, Jacob, Scott, Literature, Dakota, Space Rookie, Up in Space, Donald again, Scott, and Donald again. Donald, yeah, you're right. Football isn't a day. I'm just feeling great. Do you guys understand that tomorrow night we get to stay up late and watch football? And not just any football. We get to watch the Ravens and the Chiefs, two awesome fucking teams battling it out on prime time. Do you understand how exciting this time of year is? I'm sure you do. We all do. It's just, it feels good. I've already gone through all my teams and set my lineups, made my waiver claims. Someone picked up Kenny McIntosh over me. We both bid $1 and someone got him. Like, what's that about? What if I wanted Kenny McIntosh on my team? You know, waivers suck if we bid the same amount. It's stupid. Why did Sleeper give it? Anyway, we're talking rankings. What am I doing? What am I doing this morning, guys? Anyway, so before I show my rankings, before we go through these, I do want to precursor this. As you can see in the title, we're predicting the top 100 players. I decided no one's drafting anymore. So why do my rankings have to have anything to do with ADP? Why? No one could give me a real reason as to why my rankings should follow ADP and the general consensus rankings around these players. I said, fuck that. I'm going with some vibe-ass rankings here, and these are almost more predictions. This is almost like, all right, where am I kind of planting my flag? Where do I see things kind of shaking out and stuff like that? Where would I feel comfortable maybe making some moves, stuff like that? So, yeah, everyone's done drafting, so why does it matter? So we've got some vibe rankings for you is what we'll call it, the top 100 fantasy football rankings coming up right now. Let me go ahead and figure out how to do this. Okay, got to share my screen. Here we go. The rankings should be showing. There they are. You guys can probably already see some interestingness going on, we could say. We could say that for sure. And let's talk about it. Let's just go ahead and talk about this. For those of you on the podcast, obviously you don't see what's going on, so I will be talking about it. I will be listing off my top 100, but then again, everyone here in the chat, go ahead and ask questions why I believe this way. I'll try to cover it when I go over it and everything. But again, this is my first look at a spreadsheet and screen share type episode. I've never done that before for some reason. It feels kind of weird to do, but we're going to do it. So top 100, this is super flex. This is full PPR. This is assuming that it's like 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, right? Like no true positional value like an underdog where wide receivers are more valuable than running backs. Just a standard fantasy football league with super flex. Full PPR, super flex, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end. You know, just the standard, like if you built a Yahoo league, this is where you'd be at if you added super flex. And I did super flex because, well, if you're listening to this and I mention quarterbacks in my rankings, just remove them, just remove them. Just take out the quarterback and be like, okay, I will value the running backs this way. But I felt like if I did single quarterback rankings, then, you can't really do algebra there and be like, well, then I would move the quarterback up here and there. Like, no, if you are a single quarterback person, watch this still and just remove the quarterbacks. In fact, we could do that, right? Like I can go to this filter, which by the way, shout out Google Sheets for having a filter, and you could just remove the quarterbacks and you'll see how things look. So yeah, anyway, it'll be good. We're going to have a good time here. Top 100 players, if it'll let me. Running back, tight end, quarterback. Cool. Number 1, Lamar Jackson. Number 2, Jalen Hurts. Number 3, Patrick Mahomes. Number 4, Josh Allen. Number 5, CJ Stroud. Number 6, Kyler Murray. We're going to kind of lump those together. In a super flex draft, those are the first 6 picks to me. In super flex, I think the first 6 picks need to be quarterback, and they need to be these really in any order. But this is how I'm kind of, one day before kickoff feeling. Okay. I talked about it on Monday's episode. I just don't think Josh Allen finishes as the quarterback 1. I just don't. I think that he's still going to be incredible, as evidenced by me putting him here at quarterback 4. The rushing is what's going to put him ahead of CJ Stroud for me. But otherwise, Lamar Jackson, I was thinking about it and I was like, you know what? I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be quarterback 1. I think the new offensive coordinator change is actually going to hurt him a little bit. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have as much as the rushing upside. And I'm just feeling in my gut a Lamar Jackson year. I can't explain it any way other than that. This is now another year with the new offensive coordinator. Mark Andrews is looking to be healthy. Derrick Henry coming in to help the run game. The offensive line got shored up a bit. Zay Flowers going into year 2. And I like Devontae Walker. We've talked about him a lot. I think that him opening up the deep part of the field is going to help a lot. I mean, Lamar Jackson hasn't had a true deep threat in a while, but he loves the deep ball. Obviously, we saw Nelson Aguilar have some success over the season, but Tez Walker is better than Nelson Aguilar, and I just think that that's going to unlock a full passing attack from Lamar Jackson. So I'm putting my head on the line here and going with Lamar Jackson, number 1 overall player. Jalen right behind him because of the rushing. Patrick right behind him because I think we're going to have a big Patrick Mahomes season again. We've seen it before with him because when he actually has weapons, right, where he is actually a top scorer despite not having the rushing upside. And that's why I have decided to throw him ahead of Josh Allen. These two are going to be neck and neck. And it'll be like within like 5 points, I think, Mahomes and Allen. But Mahomes, I think, this could be the year where Mahomes goes for like 50 passing touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like he really could go nuclear in the passing department. So I'm going to throw him ahead of Josh Allen there. And then CJ Stroud and Kyler Murray kind of rounding it out. You guys already know I'm expecting a huge season from CJ Stroud. And as you see here, actually, this was Dynasty. CJ Stroud is my quarterback 1. I haven't updated those in a minute, but that CJ Stroud is my quarterback 1 in Dynasty. But this is a seasonal ranking list, like how I think people will go ahead and do it. So anyway, number 5, CJ Stroud, and then Kyler Murray right after him. As you see, after Kyler Murray, I'm expecting a big season from him is when I start to throw in the non-quarterbacks in these superflex drafts. That's where I'll go Christian McCaffrey. That's when I'll go Bijan Robinson. That's when I'll go CeeDee Lamb. And then I've decided to use Anthony Richardson as a little bit of a tier break here. I think Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, those are the 3 big players that you need to be getting in superflex leagues, especially in single quarterback, to build around. I think Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, these 3 players are the ones that have the true upside to be the number 1 overall scorer at not only their position, but just in fantasy in general. They could get a ton of volume and opportunity and production. Of course, we saw it from CeeDee Lamb and Christian McCaffrey last year. This is me kind of projecting Bijan. And I'm like a hero RB guy. I like having a true stud running back when I'm drafting, especially in my first round. So I have Bijan ahead of CD. I do have Bijan ahead of CeeDee Lamb. And in fact, I honestly still don't feel great about having CeeDee Lamb this high, but I can't think of a reason to make him any lower. Like, this feels about as low as you can go respectfully. And you might be asking yourself, Jason, why is Anthony Richardson number 10? This is Player Profiler. We should be very, very high on Anthony Richardson. And we still are. I mean, think about that. That is QB7, I believe. Yeah, QB7. That's still insanely high for a quarterback that has played very limited action, has the injury concerns, and honestly just has some really, really has the injury concerns and struggles with his accuracy. But I've used him as a tier break here because, like I said, I feel like these three are a lot more solid. I think that these 6 quarterbacks ahead of CMC, Bijan, CD are all very solid, locked in, like top quarterbacks. Whereas Anthony Richardson is less locked in. And I think that you have to price in those concerns a little bit, but still put him ahead of like a Breece Hall, right? Who on the Jets, there's some issues there on top of just the way the Jets seem to want to use Breece Hall with like Braylon Allen behind him. It seems that they don't want to use Breece Hall as a true bell cow, although he's still going to catch a ridiculous amount of passes. And that's why I still have him ahead of these 3 wide receivers. And you may be saying, Jason, Justin Jefferson over Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra St. Brown? Why not? Seriously. We've talked about it on this show. I talked about it with Matt on Mind of Mansion when he had me on. Justin Jefferson is going to have multiple 20-target games. Justin Jefferson is probably going to lead the NFL in targets, if we're being honest here. Jordan Addison is not the target earner that Justin Jefferson is. That's not a hot take at all. And with TJ Hawkinson out, I mean, it is going to, like, Justin Jefferson is just going to be asked to do so much. And Sam Darnold's not a good quarterback. Sam Darnold is not a good quarterback, which means he's going to lock onto his wide receiver 1 more often than not, Justin Jefferson. And we've seen from Justin Jefferson, he can do it while quadruple covered. Like, it does not matter to him. He's that good. And so I'm just going to keep betting on him. I understand that you can get him later, but I don't care. I want Justin Jefferson. Like, seriously, I want Justin Jefferson. And this was one I actually moved before the show. I did have Jamar Chase ahead of Justin Jefferson. But a little bit of these holdout concerns on top of having T. Higgins on the other side, I think makes Justin Jefferson more likely to have a better ceiling than Jamar Chase. I love Jamar Chase, though, and that's why I'm throwing him over Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra is a player to me in full PPR you obviously want, and obviously he has the high ceiling, has the high floor, but he has been injured over the last couple seasons. And we're hearing everything out of Detroit. I mean, like I said, I'm a huge Jameson Williams fan, as we'll see when we get to where I've ranked him. So I just, there's so many pass catchers in this offense that, you know, Amon-Ra obviously is going to get his. I'm not trying to say that, and that's why he's still ranked so fucking high. But I don't think he has the true wide receiver 1 potential that CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase has. I think he has top 5 potential. In fact, he has like top 5 floor. Like, that's how good he is, but he doesn't have number 1 overall upside. He really doesn't. He has like top 5 floor, top 3 upside, I think, which is nothing to get upset about. But I would rather stake my claim on CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase over Amon-Ra. And this is where I'm sure if you're watching this, you are probably asking yourself, where the hell is Tyreek Hill? Well, we'll get to him at some point. So after Amon-Ra, I have decided to start another quarterback tier, and this is Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels. Those are the 3 quarterbacks I would be taking next in a Superflex draft before the next 4 players that I have listed. Joe Burrow, of course, I think that he's back. I think that we're getting the Joe Burrow we've always wanted. And so I have him slightly ahead of Jordan Love, who just had a top 5 season. He's obviously going to be incredible as well. So you'll want him in Superflex for sure. And then Jaden Daniels with that rushing upside, the Konami code ability, you've got to be trying to draft him over some of these wide receivers that are incredible. You just have to. I know that it is hard to say. I understand that this doesn't really reflect his ADP, but this is, again, vibes rankings, predicting the top 100 NFL players where I would feel comfortable, you know, making some moves. Like if I had Anthony Richardson and I could get Jaden Daniels and a player that's down the list a little bit, that's incredible, an incredible move for me. If I have Garrett Wilson and I can get Jaden Daniels, I'm doing it. I'm doing it in a super flex league. And I don't think that it should be crazy to say that, but it is right now. We'll see how it shakes out over the season. So that is my next kind of quarterback tier. Before addressing any other position, I feel that those 3 quarterbacks deserve to go ahead of Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison Jr., AJ Brown. Garrett Wilson, kind of same concerns, right? I'm still, as you'll find out, I am still finding it hard to come around to Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers, okay? He's coming off an Achilles tear. The offensive line is terrible in New York. And say what you want about Garrett Wilson. He's been a massive target earner over his career. Aaron Rodgers isn't necessarily someone that will force feed his wide receiver 1 just to force feed his wide receiver 1. I know we've seen it with Devontae Adams and everything, But also Alan Lazard is there. Mike Williams is there. Malachi Corley is there. Breece Hall is there. There's so many other pass catchers. And Aaron Rodgers at the point of his career where he cares more about winning and staying healthy, being able to finish the season, to where I don't think he's going to get desperate and just force feed Garrett Wilson time and time again. But I still also expect a pretty damn good season from him as well. And that's why I'm actually throwing him over Tyreek Hill. Something in me, again, we talked about it on Monday's episode. I think he's not going to really be able to perform where you're taking him. And even if he does, I still think it's bad process drafting him where you are. His age and injury concerns are not priced in right now. And this is about as high as I would feel comfortable taking him. I would unfortunately take him over Marvin Harrison Jr. and AJ Brown. And this honestly might come back to hurt me, to be completely honest with you, because I love Marvin Harrison Jr. and AJ Brown this season. But I have to also accept the upside that Tyreek Hill has. Okay. Even if I am lower on him this season than most and probably all, you still have to accept that this is the guy that could have 2,000 receiving yards without even really trying. And so you still got to rank him really, really high, even if it doesn't feel great. But I do feel more comfortable in Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb in the wide receiver department. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. over AJ Brown might be another one where people kind of, maybe scoff a little bit. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is an actual wide receiver one. He's like the actual alpha on his team. And I understand that AJ Brown is an alpha on his team, but I also love myself some Slim Reaper. And I do think that there will be weeks like we've seen time and time again now the last 2 seasons in Philadelphia where AJ Brown doesn't really do anything. Okay. Like he'll have 40 points one week, and then he'll have like 8 the next. And that's just what I expect to continue. He's going to have these monster performances, but then he's also going to have some of these lower floor performances because Devontae Smith is also a very, very good NFL wide receiver. And so I felt, I want to throw Marvin Harrison Jr. ahead of him. I really expect a massive season from Marvin Harrison Jr. We talked about it in yesterday's episode on the flag plants. I think that he even has a case probably to make the offensive rookie of the year and set some rookie records in terms of targets and receptions. Like I'm expecting a massive, massive season from him. And AJ Brown, I'm also expecting a massive season, hence why he's ranked so high. But, I just don't think he has the true upside that Marvin Harrison Jr. has. And this is where we start to get, a little interesting here. After AJ Brown, we're going to go Trevor Lawrence. I still think that we are too low on Trevor Lawrence. I mean, they invested in the offensive line. They invested in his pass catchers. He's going into yet another year. Travis Etienne's looking a lot healthier. This just Jaguars offense as a whole, I think, is being a little slept on because they disappointed last year. But, Trevor Lawrence is still Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is basically what we want Caleb Williams to be. So why not still rank him really highly? And in Superflex leagues, I think that Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback to be drafting. So I want him right there. And then I'll take Saquon Barkley. Mark Grebler in the chat, the Eagles fan, could probably agree here. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a massive year in Philadelphia. And this is the last running back that I'm comfortable making my hero RB. I like Breece Hall. I like Bijan. I like Christian McCaffrey. And then it's Saquon. I know a lot of people say it's Gibbs, but it's Saquon. Saquon is going to get like 80% of the opportunities in Philadelphia. He's not only going to have a ton of rushing opportunities, but he's going to catch the ball a ton too. Kellen Moore has always used receiving backs in his offense. And Saquon Barkley is one of the more athletic players in the entire league, entire history of the NFL on an incredible offense. I feel that we are not as excited as we should be when it comes to Saquon Barkley. And I've used him as a little bit of a tier break here. Caleb Williams after Saquon Barkley, just because he's a rookie. I've rated Jaden Daniels really highly, but that's because he's going to be able to run wild, I think. Whereas Caleb Williams, he's going to be able to pass wild. And he'll have some rushing upside. Obviously, still, we have him going in the second round here, the 24th, right? So it's still not low on him. But without having as much of the Konami code ability as Jaden Daniels, I felt it was important to lower him a little bit, but still ahead of some great players. Like I would be taking Caleb Williams before Jahmyr Gibbs, who is next. And I have Jahmyr Gibbs next because while I don't really feel comfortable making him my hero running back, I would like to probably, if I'm getting Jahmyr Gibbs, I want another running back early, and that kind of just messes with builds. But he is still, he still has some of the concerns, I believe, when it comes to injury, size, longevity, all this stuff, as well of David Montgomery taking so many goal line carries. So I think that Jahmyr Gibbs we need to be a little bit lower on than most people are, and definitely need to be lowering him below Saquon Barkley. I understand that we're excited about Gibbs, but come on, guys. It's Saquon Barkley on the Philadelphia Eagles. Seriously. Why are we not more excited about this? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me why we're not excited about Saquon Barkley on the Eagles? Because I don't get it. Anyway, after Gibbs, I've decided to make my next player Jared Goff. Jared Goff, I'm higher on than most because it's Jared Goff on the Detroit Lions offense. This is stuff I don't understand. It's like everyone and their mother is like, let's go target the Detroit Lions offense. The Detroit Lions offense is going to be incredible for fantasy football. And then he's like quarterback 16? Like, what? Like, nothing adds up. Like, oh, you've got to take Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown early as hell in your draft, but you can get Jared Goff towards the end of it. What? So, Jared Goff, I've actually got ahead of Brock Purdy, right behind Jahmyr Gibbs, one of the top quarterbacks. Why not? Why not? Brock Purdy is next because he's the San Francisco 49ers quarterback. You know, this is another one. I understand. And he's awesome. He's awesome. And the reason I have him below Jared Goff, whereas most people have Brock Purdy ahead of Jared Goff, is last year the 49ers did not pass the ball a ton. They are a very efficient passing offense. You know, it's a very, very balanced. And Brock Purdy is able to do a lot with a little, but they were 32nd in pass plays per game last year. So there's not enough volume, whereas Jared Goff has the volume. He was second in the NFL in pass attempts last year with incredible weapons on an incredible offense. So I had to put Goff ahead of Purdy, but I still think that Purdy is going to have a pretty big season. And that's why I actually have him ahead of two really strong wide receivers, Chris Olave and Puka Nacua. This is one, Puka Nacua in particular, is one I've been moving around a lot when I look at him, but I just keep kind of coming back around. I know we've talked about how I flag planted on Cooper Kupp, but this has been a result of Puka Nacua being, you know, so highly drafted. Now he's a little bit lower, and I think that we've gotten, as a community, a bit too low on Puka. I think that both him and Cooper Kupp have top 15, in fact, floor. Like, I think both of them are going to be top 15, given they both stay healthy and all that stuff. But Puka Nacua still deserves to be right up here. I have Chris Olave ahead of him because Chris Olave is a true wide receiver one. Like, Chris Olave is going to get basically all the Saints targets. Puka Nacua is going to get a lot of targets as well, but Cooper Kupp is also there, so it'll balance out, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with those two wide receivers. And then I decided to put these two quarterbacks here as another bit of a tier break, whereas like Chris Olave and Puka Nacua have these RB or wide receiver one type upsides. I don't know if Jalen Waddle and Drake London do, so I've put Tua and Dak in between. And why I've not put Tua and Dak in this kind of Goff Purdy tier, Tua, the injury concerns, Dak, the age with no weapons, right? With just CD Lamb. Like, I think that obviously we saw a great year from Dak Prescott last year, but that was last year. This year, I think we've got to be a little bit lower on Dak Prescott, being honest, right? Like, CD Lamb held out, Dak Prescott kind of here and there throughout the preseason process. I'm not expecting a huge year from Dak Prescott, still expecting a really big year, but I think that Tua with his weapons and offense and all that stuff is just a little bit better than Dak. So I put him there. And then right behind Dak is when I went with Jalen Waddle, Drake London. Jalen Waddle, you know, and Drake London so close to this Chris Olave, Puka Nacua tier. But Drake London has Kyle Pitts to worry about, Bijan Robinson to worry about, even maybe Darnell Mooney to worry about. Plus, Drake London doesn't really have a ton of athleticism. So I don't think it's really fair to throw him too high. And that's why I actually have Jalen Waddle ahead of him, because Jalen Waddle has a ton of athleticism. And while he's a wide receiver too on Miami with Tyreek Hill ahead of him, there's not as much behind him. So Jalen Waddle ahead of Drake London even. And I'm actually feeling a big Jalen Waddle season. I was coming around. It's like, if I'm going to be low on Tyreek Hill, I might as well be high on Jalen Waddle, right? Like, you might as well just go all the way around. So Jalen Waddle, I'm expecting a big season from, better than Drake London. And then next, I've used Jonathan Taylor as Travis Etienne as a wide receiver tier break. I think Jalen Waddle and Drake London are, you know, they have the youth on top of like kind of some other stuff working their way. So I have Jonathan Taylor and Travis Etienne right behind them and ahead of some of these older wide receivers, or maybe some wide receivers in some competition. So Jonathan Taylor, Travis Etienne, I'm expecting huge seasons from. I know a lot of people have Jonathan Taylor actually higher than this, but you know, with Anthony Richardson taking a lot of the rushing stuff, with the Colts offense, you know, and Jonathan Taylor even like not really looking as good the last couple seasons, I felt it was fair to lump him with actually Travis Etienne. I think that they're very comparable players. So I like these two running backs being here. And then this wide receiver tier, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Malik Neighbors, Devontae Smith, Nico Collins. These are 5 wide receivers who I think are going to have really big seasons, but then also just have some concerns that I felt wasn't worth ranking them too high. And I would rather take these 2 bell cow running backs ahead of them. Devontae Adams, age, Gardner Minshew. Cooper Kupp, age, injury history, Puka Nacua. Malik Neighbors, Daniel Jones is throwing in the ball and the Giants suck. Devontae Smith, he's incredible. Nothing to go against his game. But, they run the ball a lot in Philly, and A.J. Brown is there, so we'll move him down. And then Nico Collins, also a very athletic and awesome wide receiver. But, unfortunately for him, he has Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell taking some targets away too. So he's actually made the bottom of that tier. But Nico Collins has one thing going for him where I will actually still put him in this tier of incredible wide receivers because he has the longevity, right? Like, he was able to stay healthy pretty much all last season. He was able to produce all last season, connect with CJ Stroud. He's like the true wide receiver 1 in Houston. He is. So I felt it was important to throw him there. Now, then we have 2 running backs, Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, and I've used them as a little bit of a tier break. Derrick Henry, he's the king, right? He is the king. Devon Achane, incredibly explosive. Both of these guys have some concerns in their game, though. Derrick Henry, of course, being so old, and then Devon Achane being undersized and having injury concerns. So I didn't want to put them up too high, but I felt that their ceilings are better than these wide receiver ceilings. So Mike Evans I've got next. I mean, why wouldn't he be able to continue his 1,000-yard streak? I mean, he is just a true stud. However, just not as good as his other peers in the other category, like Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams. So I'll throw him down a little bit, especially with Chris Godwin moving into the slot. I think that that's going to hurt his potential volume. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel neck and neck, because this is the thing, right? The 49ers do not pass the ball a lot. They both rely on efficiency. I have decided to move Brandon Ayuk ahead of Deebo Samuel as he's finished ahead of Deebo Samuel in back-to-back seasons. Why wouldn't he keep that going now that he got the paycheck? And also, the 49ers are clearly trying to move on from Deebo Samuel with the contract reconstruction and everything like that. Like, this will probably be the last year Deebo is in San Francisco. So I think that they'll obviously use him a lot, and that's why I still have him pretty high, and he's one of the best players in the league, especially after the catch. But I do think that Brandon Ayuk has a little bit better of a season for him. Michael Pittman, wide receiver 1, of course, but, catching passes from Anthony Richardson on a low pass volume offense, I felt it was unfair to move him too high. DK Metcalf right below him. Just a lot of target competition in Seattle and Geno Smith, right? Like, DK Metcalf, I think, is still going to have a really, really good season. I like DK Metcalf a lot. But, I got to also understand JSN and Tyler Lockett are there. So, yeah, like, we'll bet on the athleticism. But, got to also concern ourselves a little bit and put him behind, Michael Pittman. DJ Moore right after DK Metcalf, just because I am heavily in on Rome Odunze this year. I think that Rome Odunze is going to have an incredible season, but I also think DJ Moore is going to have an incredible season too. I think that those are both 1,000-yard wide receivers, and DJ Moore will be able to start the year off hot. So I'm going to keep him in this tier as well. This is a very fun wide receiver tier. Like, if you can walk away with any of these guys, I think you should feel very, very happy. We have another wide receiver tier after that, but right in between, I've decided to put Josh Jacobs and Rachaad White, 2 all-purpose backs who should get a ton of passes and carries and basically kind of run their team's offense from the ground. Josh Jacobs, I'm expecting a massive season from. In fact, I wouldn't mind moving him up even more, but this feels about right. Rachaad White right behind him because he's just not as good as Josh Jacobs, let's be honest. Josh Jacobs is really damn good. Rachaad White is also really good, but not really damn good like Josh Jacobs. So we'll have him slightly below, but both should get a ton of volume opportunity and production this year. Next, we have this kind of mini tier of wide receiver, Rashee Rice, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. I have Dell ahead of Stephon Diggs. Yes, I do. I think that all 3 of these Texans wide receivers are going to have a really big year. But I think, unfortunately, as a community, we have forgotten how good Tank Dell is and how much CJ Stroud really, really likes him. And so I've decided to go ahead and put Tank Dell ahead of Stephon Diggs. I think it will be pretty close. In fact, like I said earlier, I think Tank Dell could outperform Nico Collins, but in terms of pricing and expectations and stuff like that, Nico Collins has a little bit higher of an expectation to last the whole season. So he gets that boost. But Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, both also really, really good options that you can get a little bit later. And I feel actually kind of belong around the same range as a Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice, of course, had the suspension concerns, but that's gone now. Like, he's not going to get suspended this season, it looks like. So he's going to be the wide receiver 1 on the Chiefs again. However, that's not as exciting as a lot of people are saying, because Xavier Worthy's still there. Hollywood Brown will return at some point. Travis Kelce is still there as well. So right outside the top 50 for Rashee Rice. And then Justin Herbert, before I get into some tight ends. Justin Herbert, we talked about it on Monday a little bit. I think that this is a quarterback or yesterday's episode, sorry. I think that this is a quarterback that we are all way too low on. He's so talented, and I think that people are forgetting how talented and productive Justin Herbert has been throughout his career. Yes, he's going to be playing through an injury this season, but he's done it before and been fine. And this offense, I just think, is going to be a lot more balanced and better as a whole, leading to more production from Justin Herbert. So he's kind of like used as this like kind of next break before the tight ends. And then, of course, Sam Laporta, he's still going to be the tight end one. You've got to take him first. But then I've got Kyle Pitts right next to him. I mean, like, honestly, I honestly would like to put Kyle Pitts ahead of Sam Laporta, but I just don't think it's the best process in the world to do that. But I'll put it next to him. I'll put him right next to it. And like I said, I think Kyle Pitts finishes as the tight end one. But, you know, you can't really, like, if you had Sam Laporta, like, you can't go trade him straight up for Kyle Pitts. Like, you should try to get a plus, okay? So that's, you know, this is just a little bit of fantasy advice in these rankings that are vibes-based. But Kyle Pitts, expecting a huge season from, but you can't legally put him ahead of Sam Laporta. Like, I feel like the fantasy football police would come arrest me right now. But Kyle Pitts is the only tight end, actually. The only tight end right now. Maybe Dalton Kincaid has the case. But Sam Laporta, Trey McBride, Mark Andrews, and probably now Travis Kelce. Or it depends with Mark Andrews. Basically, Kyle Pitts and Dalton Kincaid are like the only ones when I'm looking at this list that can truly be their team's alpha. And Kyle Pitts, I'm just expecting a massive season from in Atlanta. I'm expecting him to outperform Drake London even. Like, I want Kyle Pitts every chance I can get him. Right after that, like, these are the two tight ends. Like, these are the two you'll want. Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts. I think the other ones have some question marks around them to where I'm fine kind of bumping them below a little bit. Isaiah Pacheco after that, because he's the Chiefs running back, going to be awesome. We love Isaiah Pacheco here. T. Higgins after Isaiah Pacheco, because he's going to get a ton of targets, especially if Jamar Chase holds out at any point. But even then, the second wide receiver now on the Bengals with no Tyler Boyd is going to get a ton of volume. So I've never really been one super high on T. Higgins, but this year I'm feeling some T. Higgins. After that, we'll go George Pickens, because he's the Steelers wide receiver one. In fact, really the only wide receiver there. I mean, like, I don't think so. He's going to get a ton of volume, but it is also the Steelers, right? It's Russell Wilson throwing in the ball. And then when Russell Wilson fails, it'll be Justin Fields throwing in the ball. So we can't get too excited about George Pickens, especially since it's also an Arthur Smith offense. But since he's a wide receiver one, I decided to use Pacheco, Higgins, Pickens, these three kind of cornerstone pieces at other positions ahead of this next tier of tight end, Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews. I have Kincaid next just because, yeah, he has the potential to be the Bills' alpha. Like, he's the one that could get the most volume. Now, do I think that? Probably not. I still think that this Bills team is going to spread the ball around a lot. I think that all of these targets are going to get utilized pretty frequently. But since he's a tight end at the position, right, like, you want him there. Trey McBride next, because I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the alpha in Arizona. I think we all know that. We just haven't really come around to it yet. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get too much volume, I think, for Trey McBride to be like a true tight end one. I still think he'll be like top 7, top 8 maybe. But, you know, obviously you still want him. This is tight end 4 here in my rankings. Travis Kelce after that, and this is him versus Mark Andrews has been one of my toughest debates in my head. Because Travis Kelce, he's up there in age. And I just think that they're going to kind of coast him through the season so that he survives for the playoffs. Mark Andrews just keeps having injuries. Like, it's just so strange. Like, you think Mark Andrews is going to be the alpha there, but then, like, Isaiah Likely plays half the season. You know, Zay Flowers gets drafted. Like, I don't know. So I don't feel as comfortable with Mark Andrews too much. So I'm actually putting him at the back of this tight end tier, but I'll still put him ahead of his teammate Zay Flowers, right? Like, I still think that Mark Andrews is you know, the more of an alpha there than Zay Flowers. Then we make it to like a little bit of a running back tier at 65, and it's Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker I have next because I just think he's going to be a stud and a half, and I think that people need to get Kenneth Walker and stop fading him. I believe now I moved him like 20 spots above ADP. Something crazy like that. I love Kenneth Walker. Give me some K9. Joe Mixon and Alvin Kamara next, because in full PPR, these guys are going to be studs. Alvin Kamara is going to get a ton of catches. Joe Mixon's going to get a ton of catches. They're both going to be focal points of their offense, so you want them bad. Then we've got another quarterback tier. And this is where you'll definitely start to see a lot of changes. This is where I got kind of, from here on out is where, and I got a lot more creative from the rest of it. We got Will Levis, Matthew Stafford, Kirk Cousins, which I understand is nowhere near ADP. But this is how it should be. Seriously. Will Levis is going to be awesome this year. Matthew Stafford's going to be awesome this year. And Kirk Cousins is going to be awesome this year. Those are three awesome pass-happy offenses that look to be incredible, and yet their quarterbacks are so cheap to acquire. Like, this is the range normally if you're looking at rankings, like Deshaun Watson would be here, Aaron Rodgers would be here, but fuck those guys. We want the juice, okay? We want Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. We want Matthew Stafford in Rams Revival, right? We want Will Levis on this new Titans team. Those are the quarterbacks you want towards the back of your draft, not dusty Aaron Rodgers, sexual predator Deshaun Watson. Like, what are we doing here, guys? Seriously. So anyway, that's the next quarterback tier. After that, we're going to go with Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is the only wide receiver in Washington now with Jahan Dotson gone, so he's going to get a ton of opportunity, and he will be very productive with it. I like what we've seen from Jaden Daniels in the preseason. I like what we've seen from Terry McLaurin throughout his career, so I actually, generally, as you'll see, as we'll talk about in a second, generally this tier of wide receiver I tend to avoid. But as you can see, we've got some wide receivers in a few spots. I've decided to take Terry McLaurin out of that tier and actually put him ahead of some running backs and a tight end. I think Terry McLaurin is geared up for a huge season. The next bit, we have James Cook and Kyren Williams. James Cook, I think that is going to have a pretty solid year in Buffalo, but I am a little bit worried about Ray Davis. So that's kind of there. And then Kyren Williams, I've moved him down a ton. I was making these and I just kept moving him down and moving him down and moving him down because I just don't like what I'm going to see from him this year. I expect a committee by the end of the year, regardless of injury. I think Blake Corum is just that good. I think Kyren Williams is still going to have a pretty damn good season, but he doesn't have the RB1 potential that a lot of these other running backs do ahead of him that I've decided to rank ahead of him. So Kyren Williams right there at 74 or 73. And then we've got to go with Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram is next because he was just I think a tight end 2 he finished the year in PPR leagues. Like, he was a huge weapon and target for Trevor Lawrence. But I also understand that a lot of that came because Christian Kirk was hurt, okay? So I'm a little like, I don't know about Evan Ingram, to be honest. Like, that's why I've actually, like, I feel like normally he's up here. Evan Ingram is in a lot of people's rankings. For me, we're going to move him down. I still want him. Obviously, you still want one of these top tight ends that have the potential and athleticism that Evan Ingram has, but I don't like his ADP right now. So we've moved him down a bit, but still, I think pretty high, to be honest, when you look at Evan Ingram. And then, so this is my weird wide receiver tier. And I actually like these players a lot. Some of them. Amari Cooper, Christian Kirk are my two that I'm kind of avoiding in this range, okay? These are just the dusty wide receivers that Christian Kirk maybe less so, but Amari Cooper, I'm feeling some negative vibes on when I look at him. Like, I'm not expecting a great season from Deshaun Watson, so I'm definitely not going to expect a great season from Amari Cooper, especially with Jerry Jeudy being added, David Njoku kind of breaking out. Like, I don't really like myself too much Amari Cooper, but I also understand that he is incredible and so good at football, so I can't move him down too much. So this is as far as he would go. I am ahead of Christian Kirk because, well, Amari Cooper is still the wide receiver 1. I think Christian Kirk might actually lose this wide receiver 1 job pretty quickly. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to unlock a lot from Trevor Lawrence and really help this Jaguars offense. So where Christian Kirk is going to be, really good for PPR leagues, I think he'll be consistent, but I'm not expecting much of a ceiling from him. After that, we have to go with Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin moving back to the slot. I think he's going to be pretty awesome in Tampa Bay, get a ton of points for us this year. And then now we've getting into this kind of, we'll call this the Jason range. This is when you really got to start planting your flags. This is where you've got to be like, all right, this is the player I want, regardless of ADP. Rome Odunze, I have kind of leading this area off. I think Rome Odunze is going to establish himself as at least the wide receiver 2 in Chicago very quickly. And I really wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year, he is Caleb Williams' favorite target. Rome Odunze is just so good. He's pro ready. He is pro ready. Top 10 draft pick on a new offense with Caleb Williams. I think that Rome Odunze is going to have a special season, at least like in rookie perspective. So I have him ranked pretty highly here. Then I've got Christian Watson because I'm just going to bet on him. I'm just going to bet on Christian Watson. He says he's fixed his hamstring, so why not believe him? I'm not a doctor. He's the one that's gone to medical care and talked to doctors and had treatment. Why not? Why not? Why not just trust him? So I've actually got Christian Watson ahead of Jaden Reed because Christian Watson just has a massive, massive ceiling, whereas Jaden Reed just has a really, really high floor. So if you're more of a floor guy, go Jaden Reed. But if you're more of a ceiling guy and you want to win your leagues and like to have fun in fantasy football, get Christian Watson. Then we've got Brian Thomas Jr. ahead of Vlad McConkey. I just think that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to have a really good year in Jacksonville. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to love him. Vlad McConkey next because Justin Herbert's going to love him. I'm just a little bit worried. That he's not going to be able to stay the whole season. He has injury. Like, he's never been able to do it in college. And this Chargers team is always cursed anyway. So I'm just a little bit worried about that. And then, of course, we've got J-Mo, who is the wide receiver 2 in Detroit Lions. He's going to have over 100 targets. He's going to reach 1,000 receiving yards. He's going to have at least 6 touchdowns. He's going to have a massive, massive season for Detroit, and you need to get him while you still can. Again, guys, Jared Goff threw the ball 605 times last year. 355 of those targets went to Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Do some quick maths there. That is still 250 targets to go around in this offense. If you give everyone the volume they got last year, you can even increase it a little bit, and it's just so much. It is just so much volume in this Detroit Lions offense. Josh Reynolds now gone. Everything is pointing to a massive season from Jameson Williams. The coach is hyping him up. The players hyping him up. Doing well in training camp. Jameson Williams is going to be a stud this year. Get him while you still can. JSN, I've got right after him because, again, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, they're still there. I think JSN is going to have a better year than he did last year. In fact, I do expect JSN to outperform Tyler Lockett and probably take that wide receiver 2 role by the end of the season, probably halfway through even. I think that they're going to try to fade Tyler Lockett throughout this season and get JSN more involved. And I think he's going to have a really, really good year. But, just given the other target competition, I don't think he has the ceiling that a lot of these other players in this range do. Xavier Worthy slightly behind JSN, though. Slightly. In fact, I almost want to put Xavier Worthy right ahead, but I am still worried about Worthy. It's, a lot of reports are coming out that even with Marquise Brown injured, that they're not going to be using Worthy too much tomorrow's game. They might still throw Justin Watson out there and stuff. They still want to try to ease him in, as Andy Reid has always done with his rookie wide receivers. On top of Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice still being there, I think Xavier Worthy is going to have a huge season for a rookie, and he's going to benefit a lot from Patrick Mahomes being his quarterback. But, I felt it was unfair to throw him ahead of some of these other wide receivers that have proven it and, in similar situations. After that, we're going to go with DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is a running back that we are too low on as a community, guys. Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert did nothing throughout this preseason process. And in fact, Velus Jones has been kind of the more standout backup running back. DeAndre Swift is going to get a lot more volume than we're expecting. He's going to catch a lot of passes, and he's just so athletic and explosive. DeAndre Swift looks to be a bell cow this year, at least getting the most opportunities in his team's backfield. And it's probably going to be by a decent margin. You want to get DeAndre Swift in Dynasty for sure, because he's still very, very young and signed that 3-year contract. But in redraft too, you can acquire him pretty easily. Get him while you can. I've got him pretty high. Tony Pollard after that, because like I've said, I am planting my flag on Tony Pollard as the RB1 in Tennessee. I think it'll be closer to a 60-40, but I do think they'll give Pollard the goal line carries, the shorter, the running down stuff, and him and Tyjae Spears will catch a lot of passes. And it could even be, a split approach, maybe one drive it's Pollard, one drive it's Spears. I don't really know. But either way, I'm expecting a huge season from Tony Pollard. I do believe he'll be the RB1 in Tennessee, catch a ton of passes, score a bunch of touchdowns, get a bunch of yards. I'm expecting a Tony Pollard bounce back season. And because of that, I'm really in on this Titans offense. We talked about I have Will Levis really, really high. Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins. And I only have Calvin Ridley ahead of DeAndre Hopkins because of the injury. Honestly, I would have DeAndre Hopkins probably right above Amari Cooper. Maybe actually here with Terry McLaurin. This is where I would like to put DeAndre Hopkins, but with his injury, I'm just not sure. So I'm just going to keep him here. I'm just going to keep him here right next to his other Titans teammates. I'm expecting a lot from this offense. I think it'll be pretty slick. Then we've got Baker Mayfield, because I do think that Baker Mayfield is another quarterback that's very, very slept on. He just had a really, really good season. Still has Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. They brought in Jalen McMillan. Like, Baker Mayfield should be a pretty damn good quarterback in Superflex. George Kittle right after him. Why not? Good tight end. You want George Kittle wherever you can get him, and this is a solid range for him. I have him as a little bit of a tier break between Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith. And then also Aaron Jones and Ramondre Stevenson between Baker and Geno Smith, just because these are like the last two bell cows left. Aaron Jones and Ramondre Stevenson. So I put Geno Smith right after them because I just wanted to establish that Aaron Jones and Ramondre is kind of the last bell cow range. And then so Geno Smith right after that. I have Geno fairly low just because I am still a little bit concerned that Geno Smith will lose the starting job at some point, just because this new Seahawks regime might want to see what they have in Sam Howell. I think it would take a lot. I think that he would have to be pretty bad. But Sam Howell, had a pretty damn good season last year. They traded for him for a reason, so I'm a little bit concerned about Geno. But given it's Superflex, given the weapons he has, I would put him ahead of these other running backs in Superflex. But it's tough. Like, I don't blame you if you just want to get these guys. Okay. But like I said, Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, the last of the bell cow running backs. But then you get, true all-purpose running backs. Pippi, it is not time to sing. Just let me finish the show, buddy. Thank you. No. Okay. Anyway, James Conner, Najee Harris, David Montgomery, Zamir White, Brian Robinson. These are bell cow running backs. They are, but James Conner, in his case, while he's all-purpose, I think that Trey Benson will take some snaps at some point over the season. Najee Harris, while he's all-purpose and everything, they still have Jalen Warren, and I already know Arthur Smith is going to do some crazy-ass shit with Cordero Patterson. David Montgomery, he's only getting goal line carries. I think that's awesome. I think I'm putting him ahead of Zamir White and Brian Robinson for a reason. That reason being it's the Detroit Lions offense. Like, if David Montgomery was either way. Basically what I'm saying is David Montgomery is only this high because he's a Detroit Lion. After that, we've got Zamir White. Zamir White is going to have a ton of carries for Las Vegas. It's going to be awesome. And Brian Robinson right after him. These are the last of the true starting running backs. Okay. Tyjae Spears and Chase Brown are actually right after this list. But either way, these are the last of the running backs that I really, really do kind of want to attack, especially in a 0 RB build. And the number 100, we're going with Keon Coleman. I felt like, hey, we're throwing all these other rookie wide receivers up pretty high. And like I said, I actually do have some other running backs like 101 and 102 are Tyjae Spears and Chase Brown. But I just felt that Keon Coleman is a little, I would rather have Keon Coleman just for the potential that he is the wide receiver one in Buffalo over Tyjae Spears, over Chase Brown, just because I believe that they're more just pass-catching running backs, won't really have the true bell cow potential and all that stuff. So either way, very, very close. Like that, like I said, 101, 102, that is Tyjae Spears and Chase Brown, if you're wondering. And then I believe I have that the kind of rest of the quarterbacks. Hold on, let's see. I didn't kind of do too much. Here we go. 103, 104, 105, Aaron Rodgers, Bryce Young, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton, Derek Carr, Hollywood Brown, Deshaun Watson, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Drake May, Justin Fields is my top 115. I didn't go too much further than that. I got about 115. And I was like, we're just doing top 100. It'll be too long of an episode if we go too much further. But those are the top 100 rankings. Just as a recap, why don't we go ahead and kind of look by position? So these are my top 10 quarterbacks: Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, Kyler Murray. Here we go. Anthony Richardson, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love. Those are my top 10 quarterbacks. My top 10 running backs are Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Travis Etienne, Derrick Henry, Devon Achane. My top 10 wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Amon Ra, Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison, A.J. Brown, Chris Olave. And then my top 10 tight ends are Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, George Kittle. That's only my top 9, I think 8. Didn't rank anymore. But yeah, that is my rankings, guys. Those are the top 100. Hopefully that helps you. I will probably make a graphic of this and just post it to my Twitter so you have it. And yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in. This was a fun episode, kind of putting these together. Again, these are more so like vibes rankings and stuff like that. But still, because I was like, hey, ADP doesn't matter anymore. Like we're here at the season. Like fuck ADP. Let's actually rank with conviction here. Okay, so that's what we did. Hope you like the rankings. Let me know in the comments where I went wrong or where I went right. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's go ahead and pop into the chat before we sign off today. I saw a bunch of questions throughout, but wanted to get through. Let's see. Would you drop Quentin Johnson for Whittington or Mason? I do want to drop. Well, I mean, I might wait till after week 1, Ryan. I know that sounds crazy. But I'm not like, again, I'm not a big Jordan Mason guy, so it would be for Whittington. But I kind of want to see what Quentin Johnson does week 1. I mean, I kind of do. I kind of want to see what Quentin Johnson does week 1. Just because this Chargers wide receiver room is a massive, massive question mark. And they could use Quentin Johnson on special teams. You have no idea at all. So I would hold on to him for at least 1 week. You drafted him for a reason. I know we're here. We're here now, right? Like we want to make some moves. But I think that you should hold on to him a little bit. Just see what happens. I know he's bad. I'm not saying he's good, but just see what happens. Like, I don't know. Again, like I said, when Jim Harbaugh went to Los Angeles, Quentin Johnson's best play in college was against Michigan. He had that awesome screen in the college football playoff semifinals against Michigan. He took it to the house. And I think that is burned a hole in Jim Harbaugh's memory. And I also believe that Jim Harbaugh is a good coach. And part of being a good coach is scheming your players correctly. So I don't think Quentin Johnson's ever going to be a high volume, true alpha wide receiver. But I mean, I still think he could get 4 or 5 targets a game on the Chargers offense, even if they're just, see what he could do after the catch. But let's see it. I know this is crazy, but let's see what Quentin Johnson does before you drop him. We're here. Just exercise patient 1 more week. Thoughts 12-team full PPR QB, Lamar, Olave, McLaurin, Bijan, ETN, Worthy, kicker, bench. Good team. I did disrespect Flournoy, didn't I? I'm saying that when you're looking at the Dallas Cowboys, it is just CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson for now. I still think it's going to take a few weeks for Ryan Flournoy to get onto the field. I think they do want to try to force Jalen Tolbert in there for a little bit. I think that obviously Brandon Cooks will get the first crack too. But then once they disappoint, then we'll see Flournoy. Is it smart to utilize a bench spot for a premium handcuff? Jordan Mason is not a premium handcuff, Motion Man. I know that every fantasy analyst out there is saying it. I feel like I'm on an island. I have played fantasy football for years now, almost 10, over 20. Fucking hell, dude, time fucking flies. I am like on year 13 of fantasy football now. Yeah, that's about right. And anyway, 14. Anyway, Jordan Mason is not a premium handcuff. Leave him on the waiver wire. Let him be someone else's problem. This is the definition of a player getting too much hype at the perfect time. This is what happens every year in fantasy football. We get about a couple weeks before the season, and everyone tries to predict who the number 1 handcuff is. And for some reason, this year's Jordan Mason. Every year we're wrong about it. Every single year we're wrong about it. This year we're wrong about Jordan Mason. What did the San Francisco 49ers do all offseason? Demonstrate time and time again that Jordan Mason is not the backup running back that they want him to be. What have they done? They drafted Isaac Garendo. They brought Cody Schrader in as an undrafted free agent. They even went out and signed fucking Matt Breida, okay? If Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, again, that's a huge if. If Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, Jordan Mason will be the quote-unquote RB1, quote-unquote. But what does that really mean in the San Francisco 49ers offense? That means that he'll get a carry, a few carries a drive. But you know who else will get carries? Isaac Garendo. Deebo Samuel will even touch the ball. Like Jordan Mason doesn't have true handcuff plus upside like a lot of people are saying. It's just that's not what the 49ers do. They do it time and time again. We saw Jermichael Hasty getting snaps. Like they work in everyone. Even elevate players from the practice squad. They keep it as a committee if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. So A premium handcuff is like Tyler Algier, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Marshawn Lloyd. Those running backs, Trey Benson, right? The running backs that could actually be a bell cow if the starter gets hurt. B-Rob or JSN and Scott Fishbowl? B-Rob, especially with the carry bonus. Just get Brian Robinson. Just do Brian Robinson. Start Worthy or Jaden Reed this week? Good question. I'm assuming this is the flex, your flex. If this is your flex, go with Worthy. If this is your wide receiver 2, go with Jaden Reed. But in my flex spot, I like to throw that ceiling in there. I like to just shoot for the moon. And this Chiefs-Ravens game is going to be a shootout. And I do think that with Marquise Brown out, that Xavier Worthy will get some opportunity. I know we talked in the show that there's some reports saying that Justin Watson will be there. You know, I'm still expecting a pretty good game from Xavier Worthy. And I think that both him and Reed have a similar floor, but Xavier Worthy has a pretty damn high ceiling in this game, especially as a rookie in a shootout game. I would go with the boom play. But, you know, I'm just that type of player. I like myself these boom or bust players. I like to shoot for the moon and just see what happens. Christian Watson or Kamara in redraft? In redraft, give me Kamara. Tank Dell or Pollard this week? That's actually a tough one to go down. I'm really sorry. I think, I actually don't, I need to remember. I haven't looked at the week 1 matchups yet. That was going to be tomorrow, Jason. Tank Dell, I'm leaning though. I mean, obviously I know CJ Stroud loves Tank Dell. But Tony Pollard, I'm also expecting huge things from. That's a total coin flip. Again, if this is your flex, I think I might just go Pollard. God damn, that's a tough one. I'm sorry, Dakota. You ask me again. Ask me again tomorrow. In fact, all of these starter sits, just ask me again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing a little bit of a week 1 preview. So like I said, I haven't truly made my analysis for week 1 yet. I'm trying to get there, trying to finish. This was the last off-season episode. This is it. We're into the season now, so now we're there. But yeah, so ask me your start sits tomorrow. I'm not there yet. I'm just not there yet. Sorry. Anyway, yes, thanks a lot, guys. That should do it. Again, if you want to support me, I would appreciate it. You can buy me a coffee. buymeacoffee.com/jfootballwine. You don't have to send me any money. You could also support me by following me on social media. I'm at jfootballwine on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Reddit. Although I'm not really posting on anything but Instagram and Twitter yet. However, tonight, everyone listening, all 355 of you, a few seasons ago, about 3 years ago now, I got into the fantasy football space with some of my best friends. We started a show called Average Football Enjoyers, and it's just some of the fellas, me and my boys, we're just shooting shit, talking NFL, making hot takes, shit like that. It's not like a ton of analysis or anything. But we have decided to bring it back. So tonight, Average Football Enjoyers, we will be live streaming at 7 p.m. Eastern on my J Football Line YouTube channel. So if you want just a fun little football show, we'll kind of give our takes for the season and all that fun stuff, then I highly recommend checking it out. It's me and 5 other bros. We are going to be broing out. It is called Average Football Enjoyers for a reason. We're just going to be shooting shit with the homies and stuff like that. So if that sounds fun to you, tune in tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, the J Football Line YouTube channel, Average Football Enjoyers. I'll be tweeting it out later too once I get it set up, but tune into that. And yeah, thanks again, everyone. You all have a wonderful Wednesday. Enjoy your final sleep before football. We will wake up tomorrow and have football to watch. Do you understand? Do you understand how awesome that is? We finally made it. We have finally made it, guys. So have a wonderful Wednesday, a fantastic rest of your week, and I will see you all tomorrow on Football Thursday. Have a good one. Peace.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to PlayerProfiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.